Welcome back to Talkin' Baseball. We've got the Rays and the Yankees fighting. We've got some voicemails. We've got a lot of things to discuss. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin' Baseball. Thank you very much for clicking play and listening and hanging out with us. We appreciate it. My name's Jimmy. I'm coming to you from the Bronx. I got Jake Jimenez over here coming to you from the Bronx. Trev, looking great, coming to you from California. And producer BBD wearing his Luke shirt in the corner. What did he mouth to us?
I don't know.
Spilled on my old shirt, so...
Yeah, you did change shirts.
I had to change shirts.
Yes. Coming to you live from the Roosevelt Studios here in the Bronx. That's RSVLTS. No vowels. Get it right or pay the price. Jake, Unbuttoned Jake, how you doing?
RSVLTS. It's a little fabulous right there. I'm good. Trevor, just in the pre-production show, mentioned Dansby being sexy on the field yesterday. And then he mentioned Eloy just been sexy all season. He's almost at 10. Eloy's at 9. We're about 10. I think is him just trying to play with an open jersey, which I'm rooting for. So I decided to take a button down for the episode because it's a sexy sport. And Trev, we just said it like 8 times. Baseball's hot in the streets, man.
It's hot, man, and all you need is a few gold chains and a little bit of athleticism. You're the same guy.
Little bit of gold chain, a lot of athleticism.
Yeah, but yeah, baseball is hot. I'm excited to talk about it. We've been holding off our convo on the Yanks Rays things for this ep. I think all of us have some feelings about it.
We're all around it for sure.
Yeah, and it is the voicemail ep. So I think producer BBD had the first voicemail lead us into the biggest story.
Let's do it.
Which is huge. But first, I need to tell you who's bringing you the show today.
Oh, okay. Patrons?
Nathan Sig.
Yep.
Jack Kovic. Josh Bam. Bahem. Maggie Macy. Will Dodge. Nathan Bauman. 2 N's at the end. John Iadanza or Ladanza, but I'm guessing Iadanza. Scott Curtis, and Jimmy Kim. Those are our most recent patrons. They get to listen live as we record. A lot of times we ask them questions, and a lot of times they give us extra info.
Basically producers.
Part of the show. So if you want to be part of that, and we sometimes do a post-game little Q&A with the patrons after the fact. If you want to do that, it's $2 a month, patreon.com/JOMBOYmedia. We'd appreciate it. Let's go straight into the first voicemail here.
Hey, what's up, guys? Watching the Yankees Rays, it's good action. I don't mind any of the pitching up and in. I think that's part of baseball, and you got to pitch up and in. There's nothing wrong with that. That's almost like one of those unwritten rules to me. I think it's silly. Obviously, we can't have guys throwing at anyone's head. So I'm watching the post game, and all I'm getting is a lot of defensiveness from both managers, and I just feel like if they could just both go out there and say, look, we're going to pitch up and in. We can't have guys throwing at each other's heads. That's it. Let's play baseball. That's what I want to see. Thanks, guys.
All right, so Yankees and Rays drama. So we do need to unpackage this a little bit for anyone that has no idea what's going on. In the game yesterday, Tuesday night, the benches cleared after the game because Chapman threw a 101-mile-per-hour pitch that went right at Brasso's head, like really scary. If it hit him, I think we all would have winced and closed our eyes like a horror movie type shit and had to put a lot of thoughts and prayers Brasso's way.
Like a one-and-done replay almost.
Like they wouldn't show the replay. Like if it hit him, it would have been terrible. So it didn't hit him, but scary and terrible. The Rays and the Yankees have been doing this for seasons, and it's been pretty loud this year. Cashman got thrown out back on August 8th because he was getting pissed off at how many Rays pitchers were throwing up and in and flipping batters over, making them go limbo mode and then fall backwards out of the batter's box. DJ twice. I think Gio. Last year, Luis Castillo hit Gio on an up and in pitch. So there's a lot of history there. Yankees have hit them as well. The history goes back to Kittredge in 2018, the "that's for you, bitch" moment, when a Ray got hit and they retaliated by throwing, and Kittredge threw at Austin Romine's head. I'm not saying he threw at his head on purpose, but he threw up and in and tried to hit him, and it hit him high. Didn't hit Romine, scared the hell out of him. CC comes out. He hits Sucre on the thigh and says, "That's how it's done. That's how you do this. That's for you, bitch." And it was this big movement, and CC cost himself $500,000.
Which he ended up getting.
Which the Yankees ended up giving him as a bonus, but if he pitched 2 more innings, he would have got $500,000. He instead got ejected on purpose to stick up for Romine. Whole big to-do. So on August 8th, Kittredge, the Rays pitcher that threw at Romine's head, threw up and in a bunch to DJ and some other batters. And we know the Rays were vocal saying, hey, that's that same dude. So they tied it together, the Yankees did. And they were like, that sucks. Like, we don't like you already from that. They didn't like it. Boone got ejected. Marcus Timms got ejected, the hitting coach for the Yankees. Kevin Cash, the Rays manager, got asked about it, and he said, hey, I understand why they don't like it, but that's our strategy, and that's what we need to do to win baseball games. Basically a direct quote. Not a direct quote, but probably 95% that's what he said. So the Yankees decided they were done. They flipped DJ again yesterday, a couple pitches high and in yesterday, Monday night, and the Yankees said
one tough one.
Tough one to DJ.
There's one tough one, a lot of up and in, but one too high.
Yeah, too high. So Yankees are sick of it. They have Tanaka go out and hit Joey Wendell in the first inning. He gets the first batter out. He gets the second batter out. Waits until, the inning is only 1 out away. Hits Joey Wendell. First pitch, at his legs. Wendell sidesteps it. The very next pitch hits him. I think it in the elbow, but it wasn't high.
He took it.
Joey Wendell walks the first laughing. They move on. Tanaka wasn't wild the rest of the game. Those were the hardest pitches Tanaka threw. In my opinion, it's the most obvious. That was the Yankees saying, like, enough is enough. And after the game, the Rays players in their interviews said, we got the message loud and clear. Enough is enough. Okay. Good job. You hit Wendell. Wendell took it like a man. If hitting people is part of baseball, that's the way to do it. Which is kind of like that's its own conversation. But Tanaka didn't go high. Then Aroldis Chapman comes in, and he throws up and into the first batter, Joey Wendell again. Then gets him out with ease. Nothing else wild. Meadows steps in. Up and in. I think first fastball he throws with the at-bat again. Meadows gets a step back. Then he gets Meadows out with ease. Then Brasso comes up and in again. This one isn't just a regular old up and in. It's at his head.
Ear hole. Scary.
Then after the game, they start yelling and screaming. Kevin Cash comes out and says, we get it. You don't like when we pitch you up and in. Fine, let's move on. That team is bad coach, bad organization, badly run. Shots fired across the board at the Yankees. At the very end, he drops, I've got a stable full of guys who throw 98 and ready to go, period. He said period after every sentence, which was funny.
Yeah.
So that's the whole background. That's everything.
Thank you.
Now, I'd love to get your thoughts, Trev, as a guy who's been in the batter's box, who knows what it's like to get thrown out, who knows what it's like to get pitched up and in, and who has played for Kevin Cash, the Rays manager.
There's just so much to talk about. Hitting people is part of the game. And I can't say that it's not part of the game because it is. Do I want it to be part of the game? No. Do I have a solution on how to combat, like you're saying, the Rays just going continuously up and in, up and in, up and in? The way you combat that right now is to hit a batter on the opposing team. I'm trying to lead a crusade against pitchers throwing with intent at hitters. I don't know how I'm going to, finish that crusade or even begin it, to be honest with you, besides speaking about it. But this is what we have going on right now. I mean, Aroldis Chapman throwing 101 at somebody's head is just absolutely dangerous. And people are saying, well, he's throwing more fastballs outside of the zone than inside of the zone. The guy was going after guys yesterday. Okay? There's a difference between pitching in and then purposely throwing at guys. Okay? He wasn't trying to pitch in. He was pitching in what we call with intent. Okay?
So I agree with that. I agree. That pitch sucks. I hate it. I hate that Chapman even was pitching with intent. But I think where it gets tricky is if you see the way he threw to Joey Wendell, and this is a little bullshit by me anyway, so I'll call myself out. If you see the way he threw to Joey Wendell and Austin Meadows, do you think he's trying to do the same thing to Brasso and it just gets away from him a little bit? Or do you think he's actually saying, I want to hit this fucking guy in the head with this ball?
I don't think he went in there and said, I'm trying to hit this guy in his fucking head. I don't think he did that. Okay, I think his intent was to go up and in, buzz, because maybe he's trying to have his team's back. But like we talked about, Tanaka already did that for you. He did it, quote unquote, the right way. Chapman, knowing what kind of fastball he possesses, doesn't need to go out and try to reiterate the same exact stance that was already taken in the first fucking inning. And people are like, he doesn't know where the ball is going. You know how many people he hit last year, 2019? One.
Chapman's fastball can be wild high, like usually, but it's down the middle. Last night he knew he was throwing balls where he wanted to throw it.
He knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to, I said, have his team's back. And for me, he's not the only guy that does this. This isn't about Chapman. It's scary coming from him because he throws 100 miles an hour, and he's huge. He's like a superhuman out there, and you're like, dude, that doesn't seem fair. This is a league-wide problem. It's a baseball problem. We were talking about how do you combat that? How do you combat a team like the Rays continuously pounding you up and in? The way to do it right now is to send a message like Tanaka did. I don't know of another way to get around that. So it is part of the game. I just don't like it at all. There's Cash coming back and saying what he said, I thought was horrible. Not only is it just compounding the problem, but now if someone does get hit, they're both going to be warned before the game. If someone does get hit tonight, Cash is going to get suspended.
Yeah,
he's going to lose money.
He may get something just for threatening.
Either way, that 98 in the stables is it's an all-time quote now, and unfortunately a bad way for Cash. He was running hot, and I think that will be held against him. Might try to get some JOMBOY Media merch on that.
This is who he is, and we talked about this with Kiermaier a little bit. Kiermaier, you might not like him if you're a Yankees fan. You would love him if he was your coach. Cash, you may not like him now because he said that, but if he was your manager, you'd love him. And this is who Cash is. He's very fiery. What I really believe, they put a mic in front of him when he was hot. This is Cash locker room talk.
Let me play it for people that haven't listened to it yet.
By the Yankees, certainly the pitcher on the mound. It was mishandled by the umpires. They hit Joey Wendell intentionally in the first inning. It was clear as day. Chapman comes in. He throws 3 different balls up and in. I get it. They don't like being thrown up and in, but enough's enough. We're talking about a 100-mile-an-hour fastball over a young man's head. It makes no sense. It's poor judgment, poor coaching. It's just poor teaching what they're doing and what they're allowing to do. The chirping from the dugout. I mean, somebody would have to tell me, go pull the numbers, who's hit who more. But I can assure you, other than the 3 years ago, there hasn't been one pitch thrown with intent from any of our guys, period.
And then let me get to the stable part.
Period.
He's genuine right there.
Somebody's got to be accountable. And the last thing I'll say on it is I got a whole damn stable full of guys that throw 98 miles an hour, period.
Damn. Period.
Did he drop a lot of periods in the clubhouse?
But that is him. He's being genuine. He's fired up right there. They stuck a mic in front of his face. That's something that he would usually reserve for the locker room. He'd go to his guys and be like, this is BS, blah, 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 and then go off. Trying to fire his team up. He just happened to do it in his Zoom conference after the game. It looks bad. Period. And again, this is just it's a a league-wide problem. Why do we want to hit players, man? Like, that shouldn't be the solution.
It's at a certain point, it's 2020, and I got in the weeds after this last night because my initial reaction was, you can't be doing this, / terrible look by Chapman. And the Yankee fans came at me a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And I was wondering kind of what was going on. It was kind of an interesting, I hadn't been in that spot a lot, and I was like, guys, I mean, Chapman, he's in the wrong here. What am I missing? So after a lot of conversations, I found out what was going on, and I almost neutralized everyone because that's what Poppy does. The main question is, did Aroldis Chapman throw at Mike Brassow's head? And no, that wasn't his intent. Aroldis Chapman's intent was to throw up and in. And I don't think anyone can deny that because what he did with the other pitchers, with the other hitters that inning. If you're going to throw up and in, there's one rule. You can't miss at the head. You can't miss at the head, especially when he has that weapon attached to his left shoulder. I mean, the guy has a cannon. He has the fastest pitch in Major League Baseball history. Not a joke, not embellishing. He has the fastest pitch in Major League Baseball history. And so if you're going to throw up and in, that's the one spot you can't miss. Tanaka had the retaliation earlier that everyone was right with, and you just can't go there. You just can't. And then, so I was wondering, so that was kind of the debate people were having. They're like, dude, you really think he meant to throw at his head? I think he meant to throw up and in. And if you're going to do that, then you've opened up kind of an unwritten rule of sorts, which I thought was an interesting, people were dropping that on me because we just did that episode the other day. But you can't miss by the head. It's an unwritten rule, and they almost need to write it down somehow because it's 2020. Look at football. You can't just crack dudes in the head anymore.
You want the best players on the field, dude.
We use science now. We've learned how important the brain and the head is. Like, you can't be doing that. And then from there, the other counter argument I saw people saying was, well, dude, if Chapman hits the batter, that brings the tying run to the plate. If you think Aroldis Chapman, literally one of the nastiest stuff in MLB history, strikes out every other batter he faces, if you think he cares about hitting a batter with 2 outs to potentially bring up the game-tying run, you're just not in an athlete's head. Aroldis Chapman has never worried about that. He's worried about striking out the next hitter he sees, and it's a regular season game in which the Yankees are basically guaranteed to make the postseason this year. So that's out. So the Yankees crossed the line. They were retaliating because the Rays were throwing up and in. And especially there was one pitch that got away that was close to LeMahieu, just too high. You just can't go there, and that's why Tanaka had his response. And then, yeah, it's unfortunate for Cash that he comes in a little too hot to that mic because you do have the 98 mile-per-hour horses quote, and then that gets relayed to Boone live time in his Zoom call, and Boone ends up looking pretty good about it. I think Jimmy's finding it right now.
Of pitchers that throw 98 miles an hour. Just, what do you make of that? What's your reaction?
Well, that's a pretty scary comment. Yeah, I don't think that's right at all.
It's a little bit the two kids are fighting out back, and then mom looks outside and sees one last jab, and he's like, well, I mean, I was wrestling, but I never hit him like that. That's it's a little bit.
Yeah. I think the unwritten rule, Jake, is don't throw up and in if you can't throw up and in. And we've seen that this year. We saw it with the Angels and Mike Trout and Joe Maddon saying that guy shouldn't be in the league. If he can't control that up and in fastball, he shouldn't be in the league yet. He's not ready. We saw it with Rizzo and the dude on the Reds, Antone. Is that how you say his name?
I believe.
He said, I was just asking Trevor Bauer on how to throw up and into Rizzo earlier in the game, so I was trying to practice it. It got away. Don't throw up and in if you can't throw up and in. Like, if you can't nail that pitch, then it's too risky. And I think that's the bigger thing is with high fastballs coming back and the brushback pitch and coming back, you have a lot of these guys trying to throw it in. And it got away from Chapman. And Chapman, you tell too fast to even do that anyway, so you don't need to. So whatever.
The last thing I'll say on it is there's a difference between pitching inside. which you have to do. As a pitcher, you have to pitch inside. You can't allow guys to hang over the plate. There's a difference between pitching inside and then throwing a pitch for a message. So two completely different things. Chapman came in and threw pitches for a message last night when he didn't have to. Like that message was already done by Tanaka.
Yeah.
Think of that, how you will.
He
didn't need to do that.
You know what I'm the most surprised about? I guess I should say this talking Yanks. That Chapman is tuned in to like the team drama.
Yeah. Just as a closer, you don't think that. But I also think.
And Chapman, like, I don't think he's like, wait, what's going on, guys?
But I think the one connect the dot there you're missing is what does Chapman think his role on the team is? It's to be the closer. It's to be the intimidator. It's I've got the broadest shoulders in baseball.
We're retaliating? Well, I throw the fastest fastball. I'll scare him.
If you guys want to dance, I'll polka. I think that's where he's coming through.
And the chirping thing, because we didn't really touch on the chirping thing. We talked about this, and everyone talked about this before the season with no fans. And, we have artificial crowd noise, but you can hear everything, dude.
Yeah.
So, teams getting hot and, cheering, you might hear someone say something, you might misinterpret it, but, you're hearing everything. Before with fans, it's white noise. You can hear it slightly, but now it's if you watch the broadcast, you could really hear these guys. So that's an added layer into all of these baseball rivalries, and it's even fueling and making new rivalries. Because you're hearing this shit, and you don't want to hear that as a competitor. You understand that you're gonna have some juices come out, but hearing it and it's personally directed at you, you're gonna be pissed. And you see that we've seen it all across the league this year.
I think my last thing I want to clear up that I saw some people saying, which I think coming in is a fair statement. Some people were coming at us for the Joe Kelly stuff, and they were saying, well, you guys, Joe Kelly and the Astros, you guys were having fun with that. You're making shirts. Joe Kelly was wild that appearance. Go check the tape on that.
Wild.
Aroldis Chapman didn't get to any 3-ball counts. Yes, he can be a little wild. Chapman looked pretty good. He finishes 1 innings pitch, no walks, 1K. He looked pretty sharp last night. The one thing we disagreed with when we talked Joe Kelly, it was the 3-0 fastball at Breggs.
Yes.
And that's why he got suspended. And the part we were mad at was an 8-game suspension because we were doing shortened season and blah, 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 all of that. We were mad at the suspension. I do personally think Chapman should get suspended. I don't know. I think it might depend on how today plays out.
Watch out your Twitter mentions, bro.
I know it. And that's everyone's like, dude, you're feeding Chapman to the Wolves. Guys, could you imagine? Trev, you've gotten sucked into Yankees Twitter. Could you imagine what your feed or your comments would look like if this ball was at the secondary Yankees heads? The guys like Hicks or, maybe Gardy or someone like that. Never mind if a ball ended up near Aaron Judge's head or Gleyber Torres. And that's, maybe it's getting into stuff with this country, but some people have problems putting on the other guy's shoes for a little bit. So,
talking politics?
Period.
All right.
Period.
We're good on this one. Let's move on.
I don't know. Trev, you kind of opened up me and Jimmy's eyes a little bit. Any other notes on Cash, just as him as your manager? We both kind of
that's him.
Forgot on that. Yeah.
He is invested. He's genuine. He has a passion, and it resonates throughout the clubhouse. I used to say when we were there, I was like, the goddamn inmates are running the asylum here. That's how it felt there. Teams talk about letting players be themselves. That is what the Rays do to a T. These guys are there. They're confident, and Cash is a big part of it. He's very fiery. He gets guys pumped up. The energy is there every single day with this guy. He's competitive as hell. I think we've talked about the card games we used to play. He was part of the card games on the plane. This guy was trying to, if I didn't play cards, he would tell me he was going to sit me. He's like, you want to play against CC Sabathia on Tuesday? Get your ass up to the card game. I'm like, dude, I don't want to play cards right now, but I want to play Tuesday, so here I go. That's the guy he is. And just like Kiermaier, if he was your coach, you'd love him.
Did you like when he walks out and the ump's like, hey, you can't come out here, and he says, throw me out of the game then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, he's like, I'll get thrown out.
That was good.
Pretty good. All right, moving on. Next voicemail we got.
Hey guys, Fletch here, listener from West Palm Beach, Florida. Ironically, a Cincinnati Reds fan, but no, it's weird. Stay with me. Maybe I was thinking maybe Plouffe could shine some light on something that I've been kind of curious about. Why it is that so many of these relievers in the major leagues right now, especially in the Reds bullpen, really struggle with command? Is it that they can't? They're trying to throw too hard. They don't have enough pine tar on the ball. I'm not really sure what it is, but it's really amazing to me is that major league pitchers, especially in the bullpen, really struggle with command. Sorry for taking a little while of the show. Thank you.
Trav, what's your bullpen insight?
I think that's pretty an easy one, to be honest with you. I mean, we're valuing stuff over pitchability these days in the show. You know, you want a guy that throws hard. You want a guy you want to try to maximize guys' spin and their spin efficiency. You want to pitch at the top of the zone. You're essentially trying to get swings and misses at all times when you're in the bullpen. So when you do that, and you got guys who have plus stuff, who can make mistakes and not get taken advantage of, and you're trying to pitch the top of the zone, you're trying to miss bats. I mean, guys aren't trying to dot up the 4 spot anymore. Okay, they want to go up and out. They want to go up and in to open up the 4 spot. There's a lot of things they're doing. They're just trying to miss bats. And when you do that, and like I said, you're valuing stuff over pitching, which you pretty much do in the bullpen, you're going to get guys that are wild. And it's one of the worst parts of baseball is when you have a reliever come in and just walk the park. Nobody wants to see that. You bring another guy and he does the same thing. But that's just kind of how the game's played nowadays. Swings and misses, 3 true outcomes. They'd rather walk a guy and take their chances striking the next guy out. That's kind of what I see around the league.
I think you're right when they favor stuff over pitchability, especially with like relievers.
With relievers, yeah.
The game. Yeah.
Big time.
It's a good note.
And is it also as simple as, take a tennis ball, go outside your house, put a square on the wall, walk 60 feet away, try to hit it, throwing 80%, and then try to hit it throwing 100%, and it gets harder. And look at all the guys that come out of the pen.
Yeah, they're trying to go 100. And their mindset is, okay, I'm up 2, and I have an open base. Like, I'll walk this guy. I'll pitch where I want to pitch, and if I walk him, I walk him. And next guy, if he gets ahead in the count, I'll walk him too because I want to strike somebody out. I believe I can strike the next guy out. That's kind of their mindset. They'd rather walk someone than give in on a 2-0 pitch or a 3-1 pitch.
And this kind of ties into everything we just talked about because the name you mentioned before, Trev, Rizzo, that's a guy who crowds the plate. His hands start almost over the plate. If you want to get him out, if you can get up and in, that's where you do it. And then you get these relievers who are throwing as hard as they can. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, sorry.
And that becomes part of the problem because their scouting report is, hey, throw that fastball up and in to Riz. But if they don't have the location and you miss either up or in, you're having a bad time. So,
yeah. Hey, Trev.
Period.
There was 2 good questions in the chat. That's what I was just trying to find. One, when you get hit with a 90-mile-per-hour pitch, does it feel different than a 100-mile-per-hour pitch, or is there a terminal velocity of ow, that hurts?
Okay.
Good question.
You want me to answer that first?
Yeah.
Please.
I think mainly it matters where you get hit. The velocity is, I don't know if there's a terminal velocity. I'm sure 100 hurts more than 90, but it's more where you get hit. If you get hit in the butt, it's going to bruise, whatever. Most of the time you get hit in the side, it's going to hurt. But, an elbow, a wrist, a knee, your fucking head, those are the spots you want to try to avoid. I was, after all this, I was looking back, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I got hit, I think it was 90, it's either 94 or 96 in the ribs, and it broke my freaking rib. It's why I have this stance against hitting guys, man. It cost me money. It cost me time in the show. I missed 5 weeks because of it during a contract year.
Who hit you?
His name is Michael Yanoa. He was a reliever for the White Sox.
Right.
He wasn't trying to hit me, or maybe he was. I don't know. He didn't hit anybody else that year, And we had a little bit of a fracas with them earlier in the year. Trevor May hit Jose Abreu. I remember it. But I don't believe he was trying to hit me intentionally. But he did, and he freaking smoked me, dude.
I'm watching it right now. Looks scary.
So,
and then the other question was by Nate Steele in the patron chat. Trev, did you ever cry after getting hit? In parentheses, he put no judgment.
I don't think so. I don't think I ever
no judgment.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've been down. I'm fine with showing that I'm hurt.
Okay.
Like, you don't got to be a tough guy all the time. Like,
I feel like it changes. I feel like as the older you get, pain doesn't turn to tears. Does that make sense? Unless it's emotional pain, heavy.
you got to really get hurt to cry right now.
All right. Next voicemail.
Hi guys, this is Lena calling from Ithaca in upstate New York, but I'm from Chicago. Huge White Sox fan. I'm straight up having a great time right now in first place. And I just wanted to call in to say that I think Luis Robert is your AL Rookie of the Year. This kid has been amazing. I mean, batting, he's got such easy power, hitting home runs. He's super fast. Fielding, he's stealing balls from everybody in the outfield. He's stolen a couple bases even. It just seems like this kid can do it all, and it has been so fun to watch. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, ask if you guys think he has any competition, because I think he's really going to run away with it. Thanks. Love you guys. Especially love you, Jake. And go White Sox.
Especially love you, Jake.
Lost all credibility right there.
Ooh, yeah, good call. Right into the buzzer there.
Didn't we talk about this the other day? Like Luis Robert, but there was somebody else that were like, this guy's like kind of
Kyle Lewis.
Right now, Vegas has it. Kyle Lewis and Luis Robert in a dead heat. I think with the pub and how the team is doing, Robert probably gets the nod.
Yeah.
Although options are pretty nice. And then Trev, I mean, a sleeper, the guy that you don't expect, is Randy Dobnak. He's technically considered a rookie. He's got the third best odds. Luzardo's still lurking around. He'd have to get pretty special pretty quick. But yeah, it seems like it's going to come down to Robert and Lewis. I don't know. I mean, with everything that's going on and awards like this that encompass a little more than just pure stats, it feels like it's Robert's year, especially if the White Sox could potentially take the Central. So, yeah.
I'm looking at a chart right now that I don't fully understand.
Okay, interesting.
But it's a tracker on the Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
But it's from August 18th, so we're 2 weeks out. But it had Dobnak Pearson a second. Was he ever on pace?
He had a good first start.
He had a good first start, and then, I don't know, it's just kind of where
say there was somebody else we talked about, but I mean, yeah, Luis Robert is an absolute animal.
Brady Singer.
What's Robert versus Lewis look like?
I'll get you some numbers.
I love that they're both center fielders. I love watching both these guys play. I mean,
Lewis versus Luis, huh? Okay, Kyle Lewis. I'll give you guys some quick stats.
Go for it.
Jeez. Wish you were on a better team, man. He's leading the AL in runs with 29. I wouldn't have mentioned that, but it's got the bold. 328, 418 on base, a 945 OPS.
Yikes.
A 163 OPS plus. Let me see if I can get some quick defensive numbers. It has him as kind of neutral defensively, which, hey, as a center fielder, good. Robert Luis. No, I don't want Robert Alomar. Well, I do. Loved watching him play. Slick.
Luis Robert first in defensive WAR in the AL. That's got to count for something.
Luis Robert's got him beat with WAR. 288, 338, 930 with a 148 OPS plus. So right now, Kyle Lewis technically has him with the offense. Luis Roberts got him beat with the offense and defense and the story. You lean Luis Robert, but hey, Kyle Lewis, go be special. Go get it.
Yeah, the straight stats for the two of them are kind of interesting. Kyle Lewis has a higher OPS plus by 20-something% or 17%. But Robert has more home runs, more doubles, more stolen bases.
Doesn't get on base.
He's getting hot right now too. He was kind of in a
the
lull there.
The walks really helped Lewis. He's got double the walks.
Yeah.
which is kind of funny.
Roberts only got a 338 on base. He's getting hot right now. Before he was kind of just treading water right around like an 850 OPS kind of mark, but he had up to 960 before last night's 0 for 4. So he's special, man. Both those guys are special. And we have so much young talent in the game, dude. It's why the game has been so fun this year, I believe.
Is Dobnak in the race at all?
The other two would have to fade, and he'd have to be like Minnesota's one. Like if
he's in
if
it,
if
he
Dobnak
finishes the way
forces, he can force a hand.
I think he'll get votes. I don't know if he'll beat either of those guys out as like number one votes.
I mean, we got what 40% of the season left.
Let's see how he does today.
Yeah. I mean, he could also be out of the race with like one bad start.
That's what I'm saying.
No offense, Trev.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But yeah, get your name in there, Dobnak. And just another fun thing for you guys. Me and BBD stumbled into this morning. Someone commented that both Chicago teams are doing really well for the first time in a while. They were both in first place. So Chicago's starting to get a little Chi-Town World Series type buzz, which is kind of one of those we just didn't think about it at all. Because if you're not in Chicago, you're not like, oh, yeah, Cubs, White Sox World Series. Like if the Mets were good this year, we'd be like,
yeah, that's probably
Subway Series. Yeah. But in Chicago, that's hot in the streets.
Who's the number one matchup? What would draw the most eyes? Is it New York, LA?
Yes.
Like you mean television eyes? It's Yankees Dodgers.
Yankees Dodgers for sure. There's no other storyline that would beat that. Like
the public doesn't care about storylines; they just care about brand names.
Tigers Marlins, Miguel Cabrera Bowl,
Cinderella story versus. Someone in the NL came.
When you think about this, Trev, what takes ratings over the top? It's people that are watching that didn't watch a single regular season game. Yeah. That's what pushes it. And Dodgers-Yankees is what gets markets. People there. Yeah. You just have more people in that area.
I'm just thinking about, could you find a storyline that would top that?
We got a couple Plouffe Bowl potential.
The Astros.
Right?
If the Astros face the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Astros, Dodgers would be really good.
Astros, Yankees, CS. Those would be.
Oh, okay. So let's do this.
Would the Padres, if it was the Padres, Yankees, is that as big as Padres or Dodgers, Yankees? Probably not.
I don't think they can do it. I think if you're inside the world of baseball, that's super exciting. But outside, that's tough. But yeah, how about...
That'd be great for baseball.
What's the dream CSs this year? It'd be Yankees, Astros. Sorry, other teams.
Dodgers, Cubs.
Dodgers, Cubbies.
Yeah.
I think Dodgers, Padres might do it.
Dodgers, Padres has a chance.
But it's one market.
Sorry, Braves fans.
I'm not even thinking of baseball brains.
You're just doing big market,
right. This isn't baseball stuff if you're getting mad not hearing the Braves mentioned.
Yeah, or the Cardinals. I'm just doing big cities, and Padres, Dodgers is one city, basically. I know it's not. It's like hours apart.
We're going to go long on this, but I feel like this is fun. Who's your dream matchup? Yankees versus who?
Dodgers would be cool. I do think they played each other. They had to wear those dumb uniforms. For some reason, I know it's before our time. It did feel cool. It did feel like, this is it felt like this is a thing. Yankees versus Dodgers.
It did.
I don't know why, but Cubs would also be fun. Braves has some 90s elements that's totally kind of washed away, but
if you eliminated the Yankees, because all of my answers are going to have Yankees, I'm probably going A's Padres or Rays Padres, something like that. I mean, let's get ugly with it. Let's get the young talent out there.
People want Padres White Sox. That's kind of like the common answer.
That's best for baseball. I think that's best for baseball.
Interesting.
No, I think that's best for the growth of baseball and the spread outside of its current fan base. I think that's how you get into demographics that are not being reached right now because they're so swaggy and they're so fun and they're so vibrant.
I got one for ratings.
Yeah.
And this is solely because regionally they are where they are. The Buffalo Baby Blue Jays versus the Dodgers would probably top New York versus Dodgers because all of Canada will be watching.
Oh, playing the Canada card.
I'm playing the Canada card. That's you're talking about a market.
Raptors lose to the Celtics, and now we got Canada.
Think about that, man. That would be awesome. But it's not going to
happen. If the CS is Rays,
Blue Jays Yankees ALCS would be huge ratings getter.
Think so?
Yes.
What if the CS is like A's versus Rays in a bubble? That's probably baseball's least favorite matchup.
I know, but it'd be such a good baseball matchup.
Good baseball and good teams being put on display. I think if the Padres and the White Sox get put on national display, if they get the main stage in the World Series, I think you make America's darling out of Robert, Tatis, like these young guys, and I think their stock spreads publicly farther than a lot of other teams can offer like national attention.
Yeah.
Like young studs. Like get them mainstream commercials level. The marketability there is great.
Where is Ryu from?
South Korea.
He's Korean? Okay.
Yeah.
Get the Korean market too.
All right.
Ooh.
Korea and Canada just coming in hot.
Next voicemail.
Hey, Jimmy, Jake, Trev, BBD. It's Norm here from Braves Country in Knoxville. I had a weird question. With all the with the shortened season, what rules or different standards do you think are going to play into next season? My main question is, with Max Fried and Jack Flaherty training all off season, and both those guys are shoving right now, do you think that teams are going to allow buddies, friends, or things like that to train this off season again for that, or any weird nuances that they might adapt going forward after this kind of weird shortened season? I know that probably DH is going to come to the NL, but what are your guys' thoughts on anything weird that we might take from this season and use going forward? As always, thanks for taking my call. Love you guys.
Norm's always in the chat. Norm Shaver,
That's an
thank you very
interesting
much.
question.
Thank you, Norm.
What do you think will carry over? The DH thing is coming, but it might not be coming till the next CBA. So we may have pitchers hit for one season next year, then go back to the DH of 2020.
I hope not.
You would hope that they just change it, but you might get 1 year. Who knows? I think once the CBA hits, because we might have a year of back to normal, and then the CBA brings these new changes. I think they're all going to stick, man. I hope they push the man on second till the 12th inning. We've talked about that at length. I think the 7-inning doubleheaders may stick.
Yeah.
Everyone, top to bottom, seems to want those more. Maybe
we don't get a lot of them though. This is just kind of a weird year that we're getting a ton of doubleheaders.
We're getting so many. Yeah,
when you say the phrase 7-inning doubleheader Sundays, I think if you're a baseball person and you track hard and you know what's going on with pitching staffs and how much guys would rather trade those for an extra off day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think those are coming. I don't know when.
Just depends on the money. I think the players seem to all be in favor of the 7-inning doubleheaders, which is kind of funny because then do the owners want it?
I mean, the question becomes, if you open that valve, are 9-inning doubleheaders done? Like, say if you open that door and you start doing some 7-inning doubleheader Sundays, whether it's twice a month or hell every Sunday.
I wouldn't even do that. I would just say if you have to do a doubleheader, it's going to be 7 innings. I wouldn't plan them in the schedule.
Yeah, I mean they plan some every once in a while. How often do they do that? How often are doubleheaders planned?
I think they do anymore.
Zero anymore.
They stop that?
Yeah,
I think so.
Was that this guy's question? Like, what rules are going to stay? I thought it was interesting. He was talking about guys working out together.
Well, I thought it was what rules are going to.
I think those rules are just general
how
takeaways.
For that?
Anything else from this season that you think might?
I mean, guys have been working out together forever. I mean, it's kind of funny that he mentioned that, but to me, it's always been interesting how little teams have their hands on guys in the offseason. I mean, if we're being completely honest, like, most guys on the 26-man roster will talk to the team once or twice in the offseason, like once like a scheduled check-in, and then, I mean, you obviously can contact your trainer if you need anything, blah, 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 but like most guys are just let loose. And it's up to them to make sure they're getting the work in. It's always been a little strange to me when you have these guys you make huge investments in people and then just kind of let them wander away for 4 months. But that's kind of how it happens, and seems to me like you'd want people to work with. If you had a pitcher on a team, you'd be like, please go try to find out how to work with Jack Flaherty and Max Fried and Lucas Giolito.
Yeah.
If I was a team, I'd be like, yeah, go there.
I know this ties into a lot of stuff we're involved in. But I love the mics near the dugout when guys hit home runs and stuff. Hearing the whole bench let out the woo, yeah baby. Like I love that. I mean, normally it's crowd noise and the crowd either erupts or goes silent. Or I guess the equivalent would have been if it was a big home run against the home team, you can hear that sometimes and you're like, oh, wow, they shut up the fans, and you can almost hear them cheering a little bit. It's really cool when you hear the ball hit and you hear a couple yeah babies and then it clears the wall and you hear everybody go nuts. I love that.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to make that work.
I don't like the guy on second.
Yeah.
When the Yankees walk off now, I used to make these magic moment videos. They're just not exciting anymore.
Yeah.
You're gifted a guy on second. It's like not if
you like it after or during the 12th.
If they need to do it, just give me 2 innings of real extra innings first. I think that walk-offs have been
watered down. Yeah. Like the Yankees had 2? Well, one was a walk-off wild pitch, but the Gio Urshela one was cool, but it was like, he just hit a single and that won the game because there was already a runner there. Right.
So
walk-off homers are still cool.
Yeah, I think walk-off homer's still cool, but I think it's not as exciting. But I get the reason for it. Just give me 2 innings.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Hey guys, calling in from Washington here again. I called in last week and mentioned Kyle Lewis's strikeouts, which he's cut down significantly, but you guys didn't seem to like the idea that strikeouts matter. I don't think that they matter for veteran guys who have already established themselves in the league, but maybe if there's a younger guy that the scouting report isn't quite out on him yet, maybe that makes an impact. I don't know if it does or doesn't. Trev, you would know more about that, but let me know because I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks.
Yeah, so the origin of this was he called in and he said, Kyle Lewis is having a great year, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully he can get the strikeouts down. And Jake and I were like, don't even say that. No need to say anything negative attached to Kyle Lewis because what he's doing is fantastic. Strikeouts don't matter nearly as much as they used to. They almost don't matter at all the way guys play the game now. Is it better to put the ball in play? Yes. If you're trading a strikeout for a single because that helps you get the home run, it's kind of a fair balance. But Trev, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between striking out less and trying to strike out less. You want this guy to strike out less, because like you said, Jim, put the ball in play, you have a better chance of getting a hit. But if that means you're going to alter your approach, then when you have numbers like Kyle does, that's probably a bad idea. As long as he's taken his walks along with his strikeouts, he has a 418 OBP, 21 walks to 38 strikeouts. If you can stay in that 1 to 2 range, then you're completely fine. Strike out as much as you want. But yeah, any hitter, like I said, doesn't want to strike out. But I'm not going to alter my approach to not strike out, change my approach if I'm doing what he's doing. Now, if he was struggling and, his OPS was in the 6s, then we could say, hey, maybe a mechanical adjustment is needed. Kyle Lewis needs to stay right where he's at. He doesn't need to change a thing.
The walks thing is a great point, Trevin. We mentioned that earlier. But, if that ratio is way off, you might be concerned about his future. Can pitchers find out what it is? Because if there was a big gap, pitchers would just stop throwing him strikes. If this dude's not going to take a walk, then let's see what he'll go get.
Well, dude, I think if you're looking right now, 21 and 38, math pod, that's 59. Okay? Plate appearances 153. So over a third of the time, he's either striking out or walking. What that tells me is pitchers just are not going to challenge you when they don't need to. Who are you surrounding him with? Pitchers are more scared of him than whoever's coming up after him. So, yeah, we're going to stay out of the zone and not let this guy beat us. Even though he's continued to do it when you are in the zone, when pitchers know, we don't necessarily have to come after you, that makes it tough as a hitter. And to be able to show the patience that he has shown is a really good sign. Because if he didn't have that patience, I know guys aren't grooving him stuff, and he needs to get him in the zone. And he's been doing that. If he had a worse approach, you'd see those strikeouts way up and his OBP down. So his approach is golden. They don't really have anyone around him to protect him. Seager's been doing pretty well, but the guy's a stud, man.
2022, the Mariners are going to be the fun team in baseball. Kellenic, they'll have some other guys coming up, so get excited for that, Mariners, or be mad at me that I didn't say 2021, but 2022. And, I think the other rule of thumb, and maybe Jimmy's worked in the Keuchel as his pitcher stat, I think just another theory I think I'm going to start working on is either maybe it's like the Damon or it's the Gary Sanchez or something like that. People get so caught up in what players can't do. Like, you know what? Johnny Damon had one of the weakest arms I've seen on a baseball field. It was almost unbelievable sometimes. But guess what? He was incredible at everything else. Like, incredible. And then Gary Sanchez.
Dude, Johnny Damon's arm was so bad.
I mean,
it's hilariously
it was like
bad.
Below pedestrian. Like, it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking.
He played center field.
Even Bernie. I mean, I loved Bernie. Bernie had a below average arm. Johnny Damon's was.
Johnny Damon's was like you or I.
It might have been less. It was like you or I right now. Like if we got out of a chair and threw
It's funny.
a ball.
He would call it his noodle arm.
Yeah, and it was. Sometimes we just get caught up too much in what players can't do or what they aren't doing. And that's why we came at you on the Kyle Lewis thing. Like, if he can do anything around what he's doing right now and he's striking out, who cares?
I feel like he's not even striking out that often, to be honest with you. I mean, you want to get it down, but.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm going to start working on that theory with some guys.
Johnny Damon looks like he's throwing with the wrong arm.
Yes. Might have been.
Just for fun?
Might have been. Has a lot of fun. Good follow on Instagram.
Damn, someone just called me an eyeliner wearing piece of shit.
Dude.
Well,
you want to address the rumors?
Yeah. I've seen your toiletry bag.
Yeah.
I'm just quote tweeting him. Coming at my eyeliner now? Wow.
Oh.
Jeez.
Tough.
Next.
Look out. What up, fellas? It's your boy, Boobach.
Wow.
I got to get something off my chest. And there's probably going to be shots fired, and I'm really sorry about it, but we got to hit rock bottom before we can get better. Okay. I'm just going to say it. Oh, yeah. Ooh, it's a lot harder than I thought. Okay, here goes. I'm not a huge fan of Trevor. There, I said it. But don't fret. Like I said, we got to hit rock bottom, and we're there. Look, over a year ago, I wasn't a big fan of BBD either, because he told me he won't say, let's fucking go Yanks on Twitter. And then I met him, and I heard his giggle, and I saw his smile, and now he's easily my favorite Jumbo Media employee. He's a real stand-up guy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, Trevor, Mr. Plouffe, there'll be a day when you will totally redeem yourself, and we can sweep this all under the bridge. What will that take? I don't know. Maybe just admitting that Derek Jeter is and was the best shortstop for the Yanks, or maybe that it's okay to share a Philly cheesesteak with the guys at spring fitting. I don't know. Bubak out.
Wow, Trev.
Wow.
Bubak, writer,
Coming at your neck,
producer.
maybe? I don't know.
It's time for... That's him singing.
Wow.
You gotta... I don't know how to handle this one.
I mean, I could talk about it. It sounds this and that like embodied Yankees Twitter with me.
Yeah.
We hate you. We hate you. We hate you. You suck. Your takes are the worst, but we follow you.
More.
But we
Give us
follow
more.
you.
Yeah.
And I think it's hilarious. People act like I give out hot takes against the Yankees. Like I joke about Derek Jeter a little bit. Like I think that's a fun thing. I get it. He's held in such a high standard there. But the rest of my takes are pretty, just regular old lukewarm takes. And as far as the Philly cheesesteak thing, let me tell you something. I was the first person in the U.S. worried about coronavirus. If I was president, whole country would be opened up.
Politics.
Bottom line, I was the first guy
Trev.
talking about coronavirus in the U.S. I wouldn't share with these two meatballs right here.
Not to defend Trevor, but he was pretty grossed out by our actions at spring training, and he ended up looking pretty okay about that.
Yes. I mean, Zach almost died on our trip.
Zach,
And anyways, Bubak, love me, hate me, it doesn't matter. I'm not going anywhere. Feel indifferent about me. Yankees Twitter, I'm here to stay.
Yankees Twitter got so ugly. I mean,
it's a gross place.
A 7-game losing streak times that cesspool normally. Oh.
Next.
Yankees Twitter and I.
Jimmy, Jake, Trevor, Bug, Dave.
Yeah.
I actually don't want to say what I was going to say, so just run it.
Good.
Okay.
From the top.
Save me.
Jimmy, Jake, Trevor, Bug, David. This is No Bugs David, Yankee fan from Toronto, with a quick question. Wondering if there's anyone you guys have spotted that's either benefiting or suffering from pandemic ball, from the lack of fans in the crowd. I think debuting pitchers like Davey or Tyler Anderson probably benefit from being able to focus on themselves, and also throw out Manny Machado. Not that he can't perform with crowds or anything, but I think it's probably helped him being able to get back from the slump he had at the start of the season, not hearing opposing crowds every game. I don't know. Anyone you guys have noticed that have either put up good or bad years that you think can be attributed to the lack of fans in stands? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty hard to do. I do believe that it's probably affected some individual players. James Paxton is a guy that usually plays better when the crowd's loud and the emotion's there, and he says he's throwing with conviction and downhill and all that stuff. So I'm sure some guys are affected. I'm sure some guys aren't. But it would be hard for me to pinpoint specific players.
I'd say young guys benefit from no crowd. They're able to focus. They don't have to worry about getting chirped in the outfield or on the on-deck circle. I would say they benefit the most. And the old guys, they might have trouble with it. Getting up, getting yourself ready for a regular season game in August. I know they mean a lot more this year, but you still, as a player, you draw a lot from the crowd's energy. They can pick you up. If you're feeling like shit and you come out and the crowd's hot, get that adrenaline up, the endorphins going, that helps. So I would say that the age thing makes a difference. Young guys don't necessarily want the crowd. Some guys do. Seems like Tatis sure would like a crowd. But he's a monster.
Yeah. Someone in the chat just mentioned the Astros, how far we've come from that.
But they're not even playing that well, huh?
So as a general conversation, imagine if the crowds were trailing them this year. The young guys thing is huge, Trev. I know the opening weekend, we saw a guy come into his first game, runners on second and third, and normally the crowd would be rocking, and it just looks like a normal, almost a spring training atmosphere or something like that. So that's definitely different. Other end of the spectrum, Davy Garcia makes his debut for the Yankees, and the last time we saw him was in summer camp, and he looked like he was overjuiced. He comes in, there's no fans. Yankees-Mets would normally be a little bit of a zoo, and he just looks calm, composed as a cucumber.
How much does the crowd affect you, Trev? Say one-run game, you're batting in the ninth inning at the last out, and Chapman's on the mound and Yankee Stadium's going nuts. Is there any difference between that and no crowd and it's fake crowd noise?
I mean, I haven't been up with fake crowd noise, so I guess I can't say definitively, but man, that's a huge difference. I mean, a crowd at Yankee Stadium is intimidating. It's fun. I don't know. I would enjoy that moment a lot, but a young T. Plouffe coming up, that's intimidating, man. It definitely, in my experiences, I would have benefited from nobody in the stands. Just go there, focus, play baseball.
You've said playing right field at Yankee Stadium was brutal. The fans would yell terrible things to you.
Brutal.
So that get in your head? Do you think, any...
It does. Even if you say it doesn't, it's a thing. So you're aware of it. So that's another thing you're worrying about during the game. Even though you can mostly block it out. It just sounds like white noise when you get used to it. But you don't want to fuck up in right field because you are going to hear it. And because now you've put that in your head, a lot of people would say you're, manifesting that to happen. So cardboard cutouts can't yell at you.
Yet. Yeah, I was going to say, we've all seen relievers come into a game and get shook by a crowd. You know, if you walk a guy and then you got a 2-0 count. I mean, that's a little different. And I'd be interested to know Clint Frazier, who's been solid defensively for the Yankees this year, who had some struggles in the past, and I think he's heard some things from the crowd before. I think that might have helped him defensively. I'd wonder if you guys know any other young guys or maybe guys that have struggled defensively through the years, a third baseman that might have had the crowd chirping at them all game. You know, it's probably easier to not worry about that.
I think Clint's a great example of someone that's probably benefited from this. Focus. Yeah. He puts the mask on to even isolate himself even more. Like, he's just feeling like really tunnel visioned right now. You can kind of tell.
That mask on is like, you get powers from that.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's war paint, man.
Do you think this is interesting because, like regular season games, you can't just like throw crazy crowd noise out there, even if it is Mets Yankees. In the postseason, though, shit is loud. Like, are we going to be hearing just like deafening levels of pumped in crowd noise? Or are they going to stick to like industry standard that they've been using during the year?
I don't know. I was thinking that like the crowd noise is more consistent than actual humans. Like the Rays, I'm not trying to bash. I'll choose a different team. Say the Tigers crowd is probably more consistently loud in the big moments and the proper whatever fan base I say.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
I think there's some. I was thinking about this because there was like a day game at Yankee Stadium and the crowd was like really amped up, and I was like, this wouldn't be this amped up.
No, you know what it'd be like? SpongeBob SquarePants, a bunch of kids taking a field trip to the park.
Like camps and a half-empty crowd. You know, especially behind home plate. And I was like, you could kind of dial up the playoff noise. So I think that's already more dialed up than proper crowds on a day in, day out basis already.
But think about Yankee Stadium rocking. Like, are they going to have that? Like, is it going to be like, I can't hear you?
No, and the Yankees, you know, in 17, and they really fed off that.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of teams do. So, all right, we got one more voicemail. Here it is.
Hey, JOMBOY Media. Out here in Augusta, Georgia, just coming off the Wednesday night doubleheader where we got to watch two great pitching matchups. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm a Braves fan, and I just want to know, when do we start talking about Max Fried, the best left-hand pitcher in baseball? Is it when he wins the Cy Young vote this year? Because it's getting down to that point. The way I see it, you got Kershaw, you got Corbin, you got all these lefties, and they're all in the National League. So if Fried wins the NL Cy Young, will he be the greatest left-hand pitcher in baseball? Just a question, and yeah, Jake sucks. And that was a nice sweep by the Braves.
You want to give him some love?
Your guy, Trev.
I mean, I think what Max is doing is incredible. And if he's not number one in the Cy Young voting right now, I don't know who else would be. He has how many more starts? 4?
Yeah,
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
I mean, I don't know who he's going to match up against. But it seems like it doesn't matter right now. I mean, he's sitting with a 1.6, 45 innings pitched. Almost a strikeout per inning. You know, his walks are down. Everything's down. He's got a 3.03 ERA+. I mean, the guy's dominating. Yeah, Jacob deGrom just is there too, which is always a problem. It's like, you know, Mike Trout in the AL MVP. Like, he's always going to be a problem. But you kind of got to go Max right now is leading the way.
Results-wise, not analytics, not peripherals. Results-wise, want to hear his worst game, Trev, so far this season?
Sure.
5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. 5
eight
hits.
all year.
The Braves are 8-0 when he takes the mound.
I mean, it's really interesting when you do the lefty thing. Me and going back to CeCe, because of course Yankee fans bring it back to CeCe. When he got his 3,000 strikeout, he was the third lefty ever to do that, and that's just kind of one of those things that takes you back at a second. You're like, what? Like, I knew CeCe was good, but you don't know how it factors in all time. And then when you just isolate it to lefties, you're like, wow. Only 3 lefties have struck out 3,000 dudes. So I think it is funny. I just haven't used this scope Because, you look at the DeGroms and you look at Bieber and the guys doing it this year, Darvish. It's far and away Max Fried this year. And then, when you start thinking about the conversation, if you start jumping to Corbin, it almost makes me appreciate Corbin a little more. Because I maybe it was just me being a sad Yankees fan when he signed with the Nats, but when he got a big contract, bigger than a lot of people expected. But if you tell me Patrick Corbin's a top 3 lefty in baseball, that makes you think about it a little differently. So I guess good for Corbin and good for young Max Fried doing the damn thing.
He's doing it, man. And then you think, I started to think back, like, Max should be doing it. He's always been this guy. It's just taken him a little bit of time to really thrust himself into, like, the national talk. I mean, the guy was a 7th overall pick.
Yeah.
In 2012. He's been coming up. I mean, look, if you look at his stats in 2018, 14 games, a 2.9, last year a 4.0 you'll take, knowing that his next step is coming, and then this year he's just turned it on. He had that unfortunate start in the playoffs last year, which I think a lot of teams, or he didn't start, he came in, excuse me.
Yeah.
And that left a lot of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Then he comes out this year, and he's the guy you want on the bump.
I know it's pretty special, and, Braves fans are probably mad I'm going to jinx it, and guess what, Braves fans? I think it's going to end anyways. Hasn't given up a homer this year. In today's baseball, to do that, that's nutty. 8 starts.
As a lefty, that's really tough.
8 starts, 45 innings. He hasn't given up a home run. That's impressive.
He's doing it, man.
Doing it. That's all we got. Thank you guys, everyone that called in. Thank you for the patron chat for contributing. Thank you, Max Fried, for pitching so well.
Yeah.
Guys, he's so rich.
Yeah.
All those guys
Get in
are
tight
so
with those
rich.
boys, Trev. Stay tight, brother.
Yeah.
Lucas wants to come on the pod, all right?
We'll get him on.
Waiting on the invite.
Okay. We'll figure something out.
Figure it out. All right. That's the end of the show. We appreciate you. We love you. Enjoy the baseball. We'll see you next time. Thanks for calling in. Jake? Well, Jake.